Okay. Hey, this is dated yesterday.
That's when I started.
Yeah, you typed in the heading first, got that done.
Yeah. Well, no, actually about 70% of it was done up until today. But I couldn't finish it until the numbers settled, which didn't happen until yesterday.
Man, took
Day
two.
before yesterday. I think the only paragraph that matters in there is paragraph number 4. I think it's paragraph number 4. In my opinion.
Okay. All right. Got 6:30. I think NCTV is ready and running. Welcome. This is the Newport Board of Selectmen's initial budget hearing or budget meeting for the 23-24 budget. It is February 2nd, Groundhog Day, 2023. And to start the presentation, I will ask our town manager to explain the budget he's presenting to us. And from what I understand, it's a comprehensive budget that comes in at just around 2.5% increase for us.
So, yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, before you, you will find our budget recommendation. So, by statute, I'm required to give you a budget recommendation every year by January 31st that details a budget that I believe is necessary to continue our mission, if you will, or our goals, or to address the issues that I think are important to keep the organization afloat. And I believe I've done that, and I have provided you with a 3-page summary just to help spare you from the effort of going through the budget line by line, page by page, looking for what's different from last year to this year. So in the 3-page summary that I've given you, I've tried to highlight most things that would stand out or make a difference. I might have missed one here or there, but I think we've gotten predominantly the items of note or difference from the current year's budget. So the summary letter that I've given to you, probably the most pertinent part of it is paragraph number 4, which I'll read if you don't mind. The proposed operating budget, if adopted by the Select Board, represents an overall general fund operating budget of $8,603,959 versus last year's adopted budget of $8,305,593, a gross increase of $298,366, or a 3.59% increase. That's gross expenditures in the budget and for general fund. And we are projecting revenues totaling $3,333,262, or an increase of just $35,347, or 1.07. The resulting tax rate is expected to be $7.25 per hundred, representing a gross increase of $7.25, or 35 cents per. I think I made a mistake here.
Per thousand,
Yeah, per thousand. The other one should be per thousand. I'm sorry, I'm still over the border. After applying the effect of warrant articles, the total appropriations for the general fund results in an overall tax rate of $7.36 per hundred, should be 1,000, or an increase of 21 cents, or 2.94. So this budget would impact the municipal tax rate by 2.94%. When you take that number in light of the hyperinflation that we've been dealing with in the last year or so, I think that's a very respectable adjustment. We've done our best to contain expenses and trying to be aware and respectful of the taxpayers' interests. And what I think is really important to note is that the two big items that we've achieved in this budget is, A, we have funding in here to address all of the recommended wage and salary adjustments that have come from the recently completed wage study. So all of those are accounted for in this budget, as well as we have taken the next step at increasing the funding for our Public Works Department and their capital improvements program, which is really important because now I think that the fire department is pretty well taken care of, the police department is taken care of, and now Public Works are on our way to taking care of and getting to a level, kind of steady, systemic funding of their capital improvements needs. So we're going to start going forward. We're going to start to be able to replace trucks, graders, and so on and so forth on a systemic, very regular basis without causing a lot of upset in the budget. So that's been one of our goals, and I think I can say that it's been one of your goals as well, to bring that kind of fiscal stability to the town, so that every time somebody needs a truck or something, we don't have to yell and scream and wring our hands and lay off somebody to buy a truck. So I think we're reaching a reasonable entry level of fiscal stability. There's a little more to go because we're not setting aside money for things like buildings and things of that nature, but all the rolling stock for the three major departments are in pretty good shape. And so I've gone along on pages 2 and 3 and highlighted a few of the bigger ticket items that appear in the budget. The water fund is really not changed too much from last year. Not a lot going on there. We do anticipate asking the select board to sponsor a warrant article this year to raise $572,800, which would be the town's share of a $3.5 million cost for a new well in North Newport. What's cool about that is that, we are asking the taxpayers of Newport, or the rate users, the water users, to fund 16% of that project. All the rest of that project is funded. So 84% of that project has been secured through other sources. We're very proud about that. The sewer fund, again, is also very unchanged from previous year, status quo. We are going to ask the select board to sponsor a warrant article to address the wastewater treatment plant upgrade, which has been decades in the planning. That is a big ticket item, and I've outlined the parameters of that. The warrant article will be about $24 million, and we anticipate that $13,436,000 of it will come from state or federal agencies. The balance would have to be funded, balance being $10,564,000 would have to be funded through long-term issuance of bonds. While this is a difficult pill to swallow, it is necessary in order to satisfy the administrative order that is pending, or not pending, that is standing, that has been issued by the US EPA. Airport, little if any change there, except that we are raising our 5% share of the airport master plan. The balance of that project will come from the state and the FAA, federal government. They're paying 95% of the project, we're paying 5%. So we have roughly $20-some-odd thousand in the budget to cover our share. And then a description on the last page is some warrant articles that are unremarkable. They're really warrant articles that we do every year. They're internal transfers into reserves, things of that nature, very small in terms of their scale and scope. But I'm, given the inflation environment we're in, I'm really very pleased with this budget. I can only speak for myself. I don't know how you'll feel about it, but it's when we're looking at 7 or 8% inflation, to be able to squeak out this much progress with only a 2.9% impact, I think it's pretty good. One of the things that is enabling us to do this is that we have been very fortunate to have some $27 million worth of grants coming in, which in a lot of ways are negating our need to put out money for a lot of these capital demands. So we're getting a little respite. So while we're using that money to take care of all those other projects, we have the opportunity to segregate our money and start directing it into more long-term things like the CIP funding. So I think it's an overall good budget, but as I mentioned in here, there's lots of different good budgets that people could put together, and this may be just one of them. And we'll be happy to answer questions as we go along and help you come to a conclusion as to what is a good budget, and we'll act accordingly. But we're ready to answer questions on.
Can I introduce my thing now, or should I wait?
Oh, well, that's up to you all, but I think that would be, when we get to the conservation fund, you would introduce that.
There isn't a conservation fund in here, is there? That I saw.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I
There's
must
no
have
money
missed
in
it.
there, but when we get to administrative,
Okay, good, thank
planning
you.
board,
Thank
that
you.
sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
good.
Question I have, in your paragraph 4, you mentioned the fact that the general fund budget increases the tax rate by 35 cents. But then applying the warrant articles to it reduces the tax rate.
Correct. It's a
How
21.
does that reduce it?
Well,
I don't see how adding warrant articles to it causes a reduction. Am I missing something big?
If you turn to page 35,
I was afraid you were going to say that.
I mean, it's basically a transfer of funding, so.
Okay.
so this 35 is the operating budget,
Yep,
and that's where you see the 35-cent increase of the 5%.
yep.
Turn one page,
The 37?
37, yes. These are the warrant articles. Last year, we had $190,000 worth of warrant articles, good for 25 cents.
Yep,
This year, we have $85,000 worth of warrant articles for 11 cents.
yep.
So that 14-cent reduction, when applied to the 35 cents, brings you down to a 21-cent overall change in tax rates. In the tax rate, if that makes sense.
No.
No, doesn't me either.
So, do it this way. The operating budget last year was $6.90, if you go back to page 35.
Yep.
The warrant articles added 25 cents to that, and there's a penny rounding in here, but 7.16 was our tax rate last year, on
Okay.
page 37.
Okay.
So this year, our operating budget would be $7.25.
Yep.
The warrant articles are 11 cents for $7.36. And that's $7.36 compared to the $7.16. And again, like I say, there's a penny kicking around for the rounding, is the 21-cent increase, which is 2.96, I believe.
Got it.
It's a little around the barn.
I get it.
I'm not sure I have it, but our tax rate last year was 7.16,
Yep.
including the warrant articles.
Right?
Okay.
And if everything recommended is passed
I think I see what you're saying. Last year, general fund resulted in a tax rate of 6.90,
operating budget.
operating budget. And when we add in the warrant articles last year, it brought it up to 7.16.
Yep.
That's correct.
Okay,
This year,
And
there's less.
a lot, the warrant articles really are just a legality, because state law says that when you move money to capital reserve, you've got to have it in a separate warrant article.
yeah, okay. So 7.16 is our actual tax rate last year,
That's correct.
and so we're only going up 21
21
cents.
cents.
21 cents, correct.
Okay. As long as DRA agrees with you in the fall.
I will tell them what it is.
Don't you always, and then wait for them to confirm it?
Yeah. It's rare that they disagree, but they do on occasion.
Okay, I think I understand how
Yeah, I got it now.
that works.
That was a good question.
Yes. Okay. How do you want to run through this, Paul?
Well,
Why don't you tell us what the default budget potential is, since it's right there before we get to the first page?
well, so the default budget, Looking at last year's Article 8 of $10,200,969.
Yeah.
We need to adjust, we had reduction in debt service, which was interest, $361 on the bridge bond. The state retirement rates actually went down this year.
Mm-hmm.
So that is actually a reduction, which is while they are legally binding and we need to pay them. That reduction is $77.39. Then we have additions. We have the police union contract salary, $43,808 addition. Health insurance, $18,992 addition. Public Works union contract, salary and benefits of $13,062 addition. Health insurance, $12,663 for a default budget of $10,281,394. When you apply the revenues and the overlay and the credits, that would bring our taxable to $5,191,490, which equals $690, which is last year's tax rate. I've never seen it happen, but there it is.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, may I have one opportunity to comment on one thing on the budget?
Only one?
Yeah, just at the moment.
Right.
I do want to emphasize there is full funding for the recommended wage adjustments built into the budget, but so the ranges have been funded, but the decision on individual pay for individual employees has not been finalized yet because we have to negotiate those with the police and the public works unions. And we have to apply those to a number of other non-union employees. So there's ample funding in there for the wage study to be fully implemented.
Mm-hmm.
But the numbers, I can't tell you what the number will be for any employee in public works or in police or fire, because they have to be negotiated with unions.
But when all is said and done, we have enough money in here to even cover
Yes,
that
that's
process.
correct.
Good,
Right.
thank you.
Right now, with the existing contracts, we're looking at 1.75% increase?
Correct.
All right, and last year, because of inflation, last year, we added an extra 2%.
Correct.
Negotiated with the unions to provide them an additional 2%
That's correct.
above what they were getting per contract.
Right.
So this year, you need to enter into similar negotiations
Mhm.
because of the way the inflation has hit everyone. And the wage study says these people should be making a little more, so we're going to be negotiating with them a higher percentage.
That's correct. And the number that has been identified for
Right.
each grade of employee was intended to and adjusted to represent
Right.
what the consultant felt was an accurate number as of
Okay.
as of July 1st, 2023. So they tweaked the number up a little bit, knowing that we wouldn't implement it until July 1st.
Okay.
So it's kind of like it got a 6-month bump.
So with the wage study, like last year, it's just a flat 2% for everyone.
Right.
You'd be looking at perhaps a certain percentage for everyone with some minor adjustments based upon position and time and grade?
I don't know that I could characterize it that way. There's a wide array of
Right.
changes. I don't know that I could say that that there's a predominant number for everybody with a few exceptions. It's up and down and all around. And yeah, I don't. Some of them are going to be quite substantial,
Okay.
far more than 2%.
Yeah, but it's covered.
Yeah.
That's what,
The whole study is
Good.
in that budget. There's adequate money to
Mhm.
fund the entire
All right.
study.
Okay. Any questions at this point?
no.
All right, page 1.
Yeah. And just so I'll let you know, PJ should be here any minute, and we'll bounce out to him quickly.
Okay.
Another thing you'll notice in the front of the, I printed and included the budget calendar.
Making it hard for us to forget when to come, huh?
Yeah, that's it. And just if you want to make notes, next Thursday night, the 9th, will be public safety night.
Okay.
So that'll be police and fire. The 13th will be library and public works, library and public works. And the 23rd will be anything we don't finish.
What, oh, 13, okay.
And tonight it's executive and rec.
Rec and administration, I'd say.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Any highlights as we go through, or all pretty,
I would just say, and it was in Hunter's memo also, throughout this budget, health insurance is an 11.1 increase.
okay?
Property and liability insurances are 10% increase. Those are the across the board kind of changes that have been made.
Is that a fixed number for health already? That's a fixed number?
Yes, yeah. Well, no, that's a not to exceed.
What's that?
That's a guaranteed
Not to exceed.
GMR,
Okay.
guaranteed
So it could be
maximum.
less.
Yeah,
It could be
Yeah.
less.
but we applied the 10 across
Yep,
the board.
good. Well,
Right,
that's
it's
a safe
only
thing to
the
do.
school district that gets the general number after their meeting.
Yeah.
Or we should have ours
We should have it.
by the
Good.
deliberative session, so we can make an adjustment.
Yeah, it
Excellent.
depends,
Good.
I'm not sure when they're meeting, but it's enough.
Okay. Yeah.
Good.
And you mentioned retirement is down, or
Down slightly.
is that our contribution? Is that because the state's picking up any?
No, that's our, they recalculated the municipality's contribution rates.
Okay.
You were
They came-
joking.
They came down
There
very
has been a
slightly, very
discussion in
slightly,
the legislature.
Hasn't, yeah, well,
very slightly. In this budget currently, in the revenue section, there's $28,000 from their one-time, yeah, we guess we used to give you some money towards police and fire, police and fire. They gave us 7.5% of last year's police and fire as revenue this year. But that was a one-time
Yeah.
thing, and there's, I know there's legislation in right now for them to go back to the funding. They used to fund 35% of
Well, that
police,
was,
fire, and teachers.
that was the catch to get municipalities to swap over retirement into the state system, the fact that the state
Yeah.
would be picking up 35%.
Yes, and about 9 years ago, they stopped that
Yeah,
in a budget crunch. Like I say, in last year's legislation, they were kind enough to give us 7.5% of, like I say, police, fire, and that was the 28,000. I've heard no, they're not sure what they're doing this year
so pretty much in the past, they used to pay a third of the retirement costs.
for police and fire, yes.
I thought it was everyone,
No,
just police and fire?
just police and fire,
Okay,
and teachers,
teachers,
but not municipal employees.
okay. All right. We're looking at this executive, you're looking at about a 1.1% increase. So you're pretty flat. You gotta, hold on.
use that.
Yep, okay, thanks. Now, the executive officer's liabilities down?
Yes, well, last year, the increase was estimated to be 9%.
Yep,
It didn't come in that high.
okay,
This year, this year's insurance, as well as a 10% increase, it's a 10% on last year's actual.
okay.
So it kind of flows through.
In regard to almost a 20% reduction from what we estimated last year.
Right.
Yeah, good. All right. Now, any of you guys can jump in or stop me if I'm getting ahead of ourselves. Elections, pretty much, that's a 10% increase.
10% increase, yeah.
Is that because of the additional work required now by elections, or?
Yes, there was an increase requested, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, they requested an increase in the stipend paid to election clerks
Okay.
from 200 to 300 per event,
Yep.
not per meeting. Call it an election.
It's a good 12-hour day for most of them at least.
But, in the big picture, it doesn't amount to a lot of dollars.
Right. And also, there's a lot of additional, I guess, tallying requirements now that didn't exist a couple years ago that adds on the length of time that it
Right.
takes to come up with the results. All right? So, Finance Department.
Here's PJ.
We'll finish finance and then we'll
All right.
swap over to take care of PJ's. You're up only 2.25% there, pretty much nothing unusual there in finance?
It's all salary, all salary and
I
benefits.
think you'll find in most of these cases, the only real changes are in the salary line.
Right, maybe the cost of the benefits like health insurance and such. Yeah,
Benefits, yeah.
okay. So, how are we on our software, implementing it for all our purposes?
The final changeover is water sewer billing, and that is in process as we speak. They're working on the conversion files, and they're
Okay.
testing the conversion files. Software should be in, I think, by the end of February. We'll be using new meter reading equipment for the March reads, and the next bill will be in the new system, and that is the final piece to the
Okay.
change.
Are we gonna see many errors with our new bills?
I hope not.
Yeah, hopefully not.
I hope not.
Not the objective.
I know, I was talking to the guy that was doing the conversion today, and he took our data from last time, ran it through their system, and was within a couple $100 of what the billing was last time in our current system.
Okay, now the new meter readers, what do they do? Transfer the information automatically or something, or?
No, they will still, they'll walk around and they'll do the touch reads at every property.
Right.
They'll be capable to be upgraded,
Okay,
but our current ones are on their last life.
okay, it's just that our old ones have gotten old and need
Our old
replacing?
ones have gotten old, they are older, they've been here almost 30 years, and the software...
Not as long as you have.
Almost, and the software that was related to them was, we have a Windows XP machine in the building that is turned on 6 times a year, when we upload the guns and when we download the guns. And other than that, it's shut off because it's not a valid machine, but we can't get that software onto any current machine.
Okay, so
So that will be changing with the new software.
So you'd be able to
Guns.
use new software, move up to like Windows 7 or 8 now?
Actually, outside of my office, there's a Windows 11 computer that
Okay.
is just waiting for the guns to be installed.
Yeah. Now, that computer networked and all that stuff?
The XP? It is, yes.
So that's a security risk right there.
Well, that's why it's only turned on six times a year for about an hour.
And the new one will be able to handle the latest security patches and all?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the new approach to this, it's not new technology, it's new to us, but we're not being a beta site or anything.
Right.
So this ought to go reasonably smoothly.
All right.
We're just implementing the same process that's been already out in the streets and other places for quite some time now.
Yeah.
So we should be good.
Okay. Okay, you want to switch over and PJ, or want to let PJ learn all about the administration side of budgets? What page you want?
You are on page 23. Like this corner, hold on. You are on page 23.
23?
23. Recreation Department.
That's us.
Can you get a handy book like the rest of us did?
Oh,
I'll get my handy.
Okay.
let's look at that.
So before you get into your numbers, you want to just give us a little update, how your department's doing, what your plans are for the future, you know?
Yeah, put in the new community center, down Middle Road.
Heard about that.
You've heard about that? Yeah, no, plans going well, everything's going supremely well. We're back to pretty much normal, all our programs from the COVID years. We're pretty much firing on all cylinders. The only thing we're slacking on, but is our ice this year. So ice has been hurting, but we're gonna fix that.
Should be a good weekend
in
for
about 12
us.
hours.
Yeah, should be a good one.
It's a great weekend for it. So we're gonna have ice this weekend, and that's what we're looking forward to, is
Well,
opening
maybe-
this weekend.
Maybe almost too cold and windy to be out on it, though.
Yeah, Sunday, I think they'll skate.
Yeah.
We're gonna open Saturday and Sunday, and Saturday make it pretty quiet. but it could be all open as I look at the forecast next week.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a pessimist, but it was 40 degrees like every day next week.
Hmm.
And that's Winter Carnival is next weekend.
Just can't win.
Just try to win. You can't fight Mother Nature. We try and try, and she wins every year. But everything else, program-wise, we're doing pretty well. Our day camp sign-ups start April 1st.
Okay.
We're adding a half a week because of the way the schedule worked out. And we're 8.5 weeks now, which will bring a little bit more revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, something.
So you, with the current rec center, you're basically at capacity?
Yeah, especially winter hours.
Yeah.
Winter hours, we're something every night till 10 o'clock. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we start at 5 a.m.
What about after-school programs? That's pretty much full up?
It's full. We've had, since COVID, we cut down our numbers
Mhm.
because we only went to 6th grade and up, all the
Yeah.
kids at the high school. But we get anywhere from 30 to 40 kids a day. Before, we would get 70 kids a day, and we included 2nd grade and up. But you just couldn't do that anymore, it's just too crowded.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we're full pretty much every day, especially winter.
So with the new center, you may be able to expand your enrollment after school and such.
Right, and we will be able to expand our enrollment. Depends on how much we want it to enroll. I think if you open it up to everybody, you'll have everybody in there.
Yeah.
So it'll be hundreds.
Yeah.
And hundreds is a lot, so we want to be able to manage what comes in and comes out.
Right, but a lot of your programs, you also have volunteers there, right, that
So
do it, or is it just after school, it's
After
just
school
you and
is
your
paid staff.
the
Paid
staff?
staff after school. All of our like sports programming, we have
Yeah.
volunteer coaches,
Yeah.
and things like that. And we anticipate a lot of kids going to come in after school. We'll have different rooms for them to go.
Mhm.
But then you'll want the public to be able to come and enjoy the place as well,
Right.
so, at some point, after school ends and programming begins,
Mhm.
so, we'll have to sort that all out.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, and you get space to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and we're having the same issues now, we're full, Friday nights we're full, we have rentals on the weekends for birthday parties, we have volleyball Saturday night, basketball Sunday night, pickleball, we're using the MMA place for our wrestling this year, not the hangar. Couldn't use a hangar this year, it was filled up, so we ended up going to MMA. So we got wrestling and MMA, basketball at Richards,
Mhm.
we have pickleball and basketball at Toll. We use the high school for middle school wrestling, and we use the rec center for all the other programs. So we're still in five buildings throughout the winter.
Mhm.
Which when we get the new center, we'll be down to one building, but I still think we can use the other buildings too,
Yeah.
just because of the amount of programming we do.
The MMA guy helps you with that?
He does. So we work,
That's good.
we work together.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. So they have their own wrestling program, but we have our wrestling program, we get them to utilize their facility.
Good.
Which is nice.
Good.
Get along. Yeah, and Winter Carnival's next week, gentlemen, and starts on Wednesday.
So if the weather is warm, you're gonna be having a diving contest? Or
We're still gonna
belly
have,
flopping
we're still gonna have
contest?
the belly flop, yes.
Okay.
You in?
No, but I remember watching you do it.
Yeah, I did it, I don't know, it's been 15 years ago or so. I'll do it again, I think.
Yeah. And I hear the fire department fixed the leak on their tank.
I hope. I hope that doesn't leak. Gotta keep the water in there. Parade's going on Saturday, festivities start on Wednesday, goes
Yeah.
till Sunday, about 36 activities.
And
So,
people can download the program from your website?
They can, yeah, and there's posters around town too, you can just take a picture on your phone and it'll pop right up. So hopefully we won't have to cancel much. Ice skating's gonna be tough, but we'll do something. Friday night, I think we're gonna transfer the ice skating to a teen dance party on the common till midnight. And that worked out last year, we had no ice last year, so kids had fun.
Hmm.
Maybe we'll get lucky and the weather will turn and it'll get cool, but doesn't look that way now.
It's gonna be quite cold here the next 24
Yeah.
hours or so.
Yeah, we're gonna do majority of our flooding, we flooded this week, pretty much every night, not tonight. We're getting up tomorrow morning early and using that weather tomorrow to get ready.
I was gonna say, a long time ago, back when I paid more attention to how the flooding was done, it's the cold nights where you put down a layer, quick, thin layer, and it freezes quickly, and you get back out, and you
Yeah,
keep,
and that's what tomorrow will do. You can probably do a layer every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
About 7 minutes to do a layer,
yeah,
let it freeze, you go warm up for a second, back out again.
yeah.
So if you can get 15, 20 coats in a
Well,
couple of
yeah,
hours,
that'll be good,
Yeah.
yeah.
you're in good shape.
Then you get the Zamboni out and
Touch
smooth
it
it
up.
out.
It's good. So we have two rinks this year. We have a bigger rink and then a mini rink.
Okay, that's what the other thing is on the other side of the snowbank there?
Yeah, my intention was originally, because we don't have a hockey rink anymore, was to have a place kids could smack the puck around.
Yeah.
And then the other side could be skaters, so you could go simultaneously, but really hadn't had that luxury of having the rink up very often this year, so. But
It's a good idea, though, I like that.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Because in Sunapee, they whack around all over the place up there.
Yeah, and well, people,
Yeah.
I mean, there's people down there that
Yeah.
don't like the puck around there.
That's right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And people like to play hockey too, so
Yeah.
try to kill two birds and.
That's a
have
good
fun
idea.
for both.
Okay.
Yeah, budget-wise, we're pretty conservative this year in my budget, knowing the status of everything in Newport. I think, I don't know, you got questions, or I can just be right into it?
Anything in the budget sticks out we should look at?
The only thing, and I don't know what was the final manager's request, was just our day camp line item.
Yep.
It got whittled down over the last few years, but part of that day camp is going to trips, like Kennedy Lake Park and Whalesdale.
Yep.
Some of those prices have gone up, which makes us need a little bit of more money in that line item for day camp.
Okay. For summer day camp, is there a fee for that, for people to participate?
Yeah, it's $125 a week
Okay.
in residence, and then out of town, it's $140, $145 out of town.
Okay. Yeah, on the day camp, you asked for 14,000 and the manager's given you 10. And it looks like last year you spent just under 13,000.
Still overspending.
Right, but that,
There's an offsetting revenue to it.
that's what I was gonna say, it's offsets, you have revenue coming in. How many students?
We take about 65 a week.
Okay.
And we do get some scholarship money,
Yeah.
which they don't pay anything, but the scholarship money
Right.
pays for them.
Yeah,
And we do a waiting list, and some of the issues we have is doing a waiting list. That's great, you're on a waiting list. We had 20 kids on a waiting list last year. But when the week comes and you need that kid on the waiting list, they've already got daycare somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you can't get them in. So we kind of overbook on purpose, knowing that could happen.
like the airlines.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. Then you have that, except we have a place for them, they may not have a seat
Right.
for you.
Yeah.
So we do kind of do that same practice, and having that extra half week will actually bring in a little more revenue. We probably won't do a big trip that week, but we will get some revenue for the kids,
Mhm.
and we have the staff for it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a good place for the kids to be in the summer.
It's a good place, yeah. And we like to keep it like some of the other camps around, and it's great that other camps are around, but a lot of people come to our camp because we do a little more adventurous stuff. We take them on those trips. You know, if you're stuck in the rec center all day, like the COVID years,
Yeah.
that's brutal. 8 hours a day in one building is hard. So having a trip to the beach, even if it's just, 2-hour trip to the beach is bad. It really breaks up your day.
So you go to like Hampton Beach?
We do go to Hampton Beach, we go to Sunapee Beach.
I was about to say, Sunapee is, not a 2-hour trip.
Yeah. Well, by the time you get the kids over there, yeah, but you go over there, you don't have to go over there all day. You can go
Right.
there for 2 hours
Yeah.
and come back. It gives them a little dip in the water, just to change the pace, instead
Yeah.
of just crafts all day and games, which can be fun, but, like
Yeah.
anything. You wanna keep a nice diversified program.
Yep. What shape is your rec van in?
If you asked me a year ago, I'd say it's pretty good. Lately, we fixed the engines, got 60,000 miles on it. I mean, on the outskirts, it looks good, some of the stuff internally, I've been fixing lately. But externally, it looks okay. I think it's a 5-year window, maybe, time for another one.
What year is that one?
Might be 2014, actually, I have it.
So it's basically like 8, 9 years old.
Yeah, and not a lot of miles, we don't put a ton of miles on it.
Yeah.
Trips in the winter, trips in the spring, in the fall, but mostly it's day camp. 2 days a week it's on big trips, and then 3 days a week it's on big trips.
Yeah.
So it's every day.
Yeah. Does the school use it at all for some of their groups?
They do,
Okay.
They use theirs, and we happen to we use theirs occasionally as well.
Okay, so there's collaborative arrangement there.
Collaborative arrangements, yeah.
How are we on school bus for summer camp? I think the superintendent was quite surprised to learn that we were using a school bus last summer. I believe one of her comments to us early on, and it was like, been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
You know, and my recollection was you or someone in your staff would make a request to the school board in the spring,
Right.
you know, and it would be like, sure, do it, you know, you may cover up the school sign or something, and certainly, you know, we would pay for the driver, I would assume, and for the gas or whatever, and something that worked well forever.
Yep, and it's fantastic. It works
Yeah.
great.
And the plan is to keep doing what works.
Doing what works. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Okay.
Using that, and they'll have a bus driver, so it'll give one of their employees hours, we'll end up paying
Yeah.
one of their
Yeah.
employees. So that helps them. And then,
Mhm.
you know, we utilize their bus for our trips.
Yeah.
It's cheaper.
Mhm.
We could hire out, some other rec departments can't use school buses, so they hire out other transportation agencies, which is more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a better deal with them, and you get the hours for their employee. I hope to keep that practice again. The bus manager had told us, he asked us if we need them again this year, and we already told him yes,
Okay.
we need them, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we work cooperatively with the schools as often as we can.
Oh, yeah.
Sharing. I mean, our soccer field is actually, their varsity soccer field is on the town field.
Okay.
So there's a lot of,
Now, they've moved all their athletics up to the high school, correct?
we think so.
Okay. We
So
don't
the
know yet?
baseball field was moved up there. I don't know the status of that when spring comes, what it's gonna look like
Yeah.
after the snow lifts. But they did move the baseball field up there, they work on it.
Right, but has any consideration been given to how the town could repurpose Meadow Park now that we don't have to accommodate school sports
Baseball.
to meet the current and I guess proposed future needs for rec kids, since it would be right across the street from the new rec center?
Right, one of the things we'd like to do, and we actually had bids on it, was transfer that baseball field into a youth softball field, for starters. Once they put the baseball field at their location, they took the last remaining youth softball field that is used by rec, not necessarily our rec department, but rec kids in town.
Yeah.
They have their own organization that runs softball.
Is that the one with the lights? The field up there by the high school?
No, that's their varsity field.
Okay,
So the backfield was the youth
Okay.
field, or just another extra field.
yeah,
So they made that a baseball field, so now there's really no youth softball field in town.
okay,
So they're gonna feel that pinch come spring. We'd like to get another bid out to see how much it costs for us to make that baseball field into a youth softball field.
yeah,
That would help, and then there's room for an additional field there too as well, because once you have a smaller youth softball field, it gives you more room
Yeah.
for potentially another field. So you could have 3 fields down at the Middle Park area. Maybe ideally, we have a couple of pickleball courts, a community center, and it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great down there. It's a huge place to go. So, yeah, consideration certainly. We're gonna want,
okay.
we need more money. I think everything costs money.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as softball wise. But I don't know this, like that baseball field, my gut tells me, I don't know if it's gonna be ready, so,
You mean theirs?
their baseball field, I don't know. So,
Well, they pulled the backstop out of the one down at Meadow Park, right?
yes, and we moved it back, we put a new one in,
Put a new
moved
one.
it back to closer to the bank.
Okay,
So if and when we transferred it into a softball field, you can move the field back, which would be even smaller, right?
Mhm.
So we kind of put that thought into it. We still utilize the dugouts, it's still far enough away from the dugouts. And then your outfield wouldn't be very far. And maybe on the other corner where, I don't know if you know where the Gaga pit is, but where the berm is.
yeah,
It's a little spot in there you could actually put in a field, or in the back you could put in a field. For like T-ball or rookie league or some type of baseball, even if just a practice field for the kids. You could pretty much gain a field,
Good.
which would be nice when we can get to it.
yeah,
You know, maybe when we do the whole enchilada,
yeah.
we get an extra price for that, and,
Yeah, I think it's worth looking at how to take advantage of Meadow Park with the new community center right there. You know, it's like right outside the door.
and that's gonna really help our whole day camp program.
Mhm.
We meet down there, you have 2 outside fields, playgrounds to play on, pavilions to hang out with, and you just right there, right next to it. So you go to the bathroom, okay, go right in, right out.
Well, you got the bathrooms right
Well, you
there.
go bathroom generally, right, but you just having a facility down there, it's gonna be nice, you're indoor, outdoor, you don't have to make the trek up in the back. It's just gonna make a nice facility in the long run.
All right. What else you got in your budget? Or any questions, Herb, Barry?
I'm all set right now.
Thank you.
Basically, overall, you're up about 10% there, so,
Is that,
go ahead.
is that $10,000 for day camp? Is that gonna be enough?
Use 12,
Well, you asked for 14.
I asked for 14, yeah, well, yeah, 10 won't come up, you know.
So what we did is we put 10 on because it matched their 5-year average.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's a floating number. If they go over that, they have registration over that, they have income. to
Yeah,
offset.
okay.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of it's not a meaningless number, but it's kind of a plug number. It'll go wherever it needs to go.
But then at least 1 or 2 of those years were COVID years, which may have impacted numbers.
Right. So you can put any number you want there.
Yeah.
100,000.
100,000, yeah. We will probably overspend 10, but like you said, we will.
The difference is if you put in like 20 or 100 and you didn't have the offsetting revenues,
Yeah,
then
and
you
you
raise it in
yeah,
taxes.
raise taxes.
So we want to be on the, I want to be on the conservative side of that.
Good, okay.
All right. Paul, anything else concerning rec to cover?
No, I don't believe so.
Just that?
Just that.
All right.
No capital.
And your staff's doing well?
Staff's doing great. Beth's working on her 29th year, so she's been there. Our administrative assistant's been there. So she's been around long as Paul, so.
How long have you been there?
This is my 30th year. September will be 30. Yeah. So, they've got a long standing tradition. Beth's been great. Becky's been great.
Yeah.
And volunteers. It's just get what you put in, and the community always gives.
Yeah.
Businesses, volunteers, keeps us afloat. Yeah. Couldn't do without it.
Absolutely not.
And spending wise, yeah, we've got a little bit of stuff in our maintenance. We do, firewood for dry set, although I think I don't need that as much because I'm not going to use as much this year. Unless we get a freezing streak in March. Won't need a lot of firewood because I'll have enough left over for next year. But
You
we
do anything on those fields that you pointed out to me when we were on that, working that day, that are off,
Up in North
Harlem
Newport?
Field,
huh?
right next to the airport.
Airport.
That's still a work in progress. We have plans for it, we have prices for it. We need to find a little bit of coin to get those into fruition. I think that was our main focus, and the fields just before we got
The
the
rec.
on the rec center.
Yeah, okay, good.
It kind
All
of,
right.
that kind of took us off the rails.
Yeah.
Rec centers should, community center became the main focus. And those
Yeah,
fields,
good.
even though that it's totally needed, they get less focus at this point.
All right. Good. All right. All right.
All right, well, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
More than welcome to stay and listen to,
Paul's budget?
yeah.
No,
Or you could go home.
I'm getting up early, but flooding early. If y'all want to come down,
Yeah,
yeah.
Thanks for the support, PJ.
I'm working.
All right.
Yeah, it's good.
So let's see, we,
Oh, we're at schedule. I don't know if we have a schedule. What kind of a schedule?
okay.
You probably have one anyway.
Nope.
Nope, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. You didn't bring buttons to sell us, huh?
I thought of that. I said, I can't, I don't have time to read my buttons.
That's all right. I know where to find one.
No, finally.
Yeah. Okay, we're back on page 3, Paul,
Yep,
and we're looking at property reevaluation.
yes.
All right. How are we on replacing assessor.
Just about to pull the trigger tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we just need to sign the contract with managed selection, and he will probably be here in the next week, I would think. Originally, there was talk about him being here today, but that might change.
Okay, so basically, we went out to bid, you had a couple of bids come in? All right. So we should be all set going forward? All right, and I see we have budgeted for our assessor 58,000? Is that what the contract is with them?
It's a projection.
Yeah, it's an estimated contract, and it's in that ballpark, maybe a little, the 58 maybe a little bit low, but we'll work on it.
Yeah, see, looking back to 21-22 year, we budgeted 58 and we expended 61. This year, there's still gonna be some the assessor, new assessor is gonna be working on, working for us in this budget year, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Legal expense.
It's the annual crapshoot.
Yes, it is.
It's the same sort of situation, you know, we'll spend what we have to spend, and if it gets out of bounds, we have to make adjustments elsewhere in the budget to accommodate it.
Okay.
And we just have no idea what, will come our way. But right now, we're on target for this fiscal year. Certainly it wasn't the case last year.
No, it wasn't. All right. Topaz, you doing that, or we're gonna skip that for now?
If we can do it.
Mr. Chair, there's a point of reference here.
Mhm.
There is an activity that is missing from the budget, or at least traditional budgets, and that's the Conservation Commission. Traditionally, it has not been funded, and so there's not been a place for it in the budget. But this is the general area, or at some time, you might want to consider. I think that there's a request for funding
Yes.
for the Conservation Commission, and this would be the area of the budget where you might want to.
Where are we looking?
It's typically in the area of planning and zoning, Conservation Commission.
Topaz.
Same page, whether you do it before or after, this would be, it would be timely, let's put it that way, to have that discussion if you want to insert something.
Yeah. Why don't I do that now? Okay, so I request from the board that we include in the budget for the Conservation Commission, which is usually at zero, we're going to be asking this year, we'd like to have $1,200 put into the operating budget. Purpose of which would be so that we're not drawing down from money that's supposed to be expended for land and other uses of the Conservation Commission, so that we would have money to be able to attend conferences, attend classes, dues, and also to buy a few pieces of equipment. Nothing big, like I'm talking shovels, rakes, stuff like that. Possibly something that we can use for cutting, chainsaw or something of that nature.
Doesn't the town already own utensils like that?
Public Works does.
They do, but we're choosing to have our own and not have to rely on
Okay.
other people.
Okay. Conservation Commission looking for their own storage shed to keep this in, or?
And we'll worry about that, you know.
It sounds like $1,200 doesn't sound like a lot of money if once you're talking about a
No.
chainsaw, some shovels.
Yeah, we'll start there.
Some,
Yeah. Well,
you know.
actually, the dues to the various commissions, we want that to come out of that rather than it has been coming out from the money that we have in there that
Okay.
we want to be using for the possible future purchase of land.
Right.
So I'd request that that amount of money be put into the operating budget.
Now, isn't there a plan to do a,
NRA, warrant
Yes.
article.
that's a warrant
That's
article?
going to be a warrant article. That's because we're going to be asking for,
Is that on your list?
he
No.
should be
It's in my
aware of it.
head, I didn't know if it was gonna be petition or if they were coming to the board first.
I thought in talking with you, you said the petition would be the better way to go.
Why?
Oh, no, I,
Whatever is the better way to go, what we'll
I
do.
mean, the
Well, that's
Conservation
really your-
Commission
your
is
decision.
a town,
What's that? Say,
the
help me, Jim.
Conservation Commission is a town board, right?
It's a commission.
Commission, but it's a town legally authorized and all this stuff
By the town.
by the town.
That's correct.
And the work you're doing is for the town, right?
Yes, yeah.
So, I mean, it's the sort of thing you could conceivably do it out of the funds you have because it supports you buying land and knowing what you need to buy and what you have. Or you can, we can,
We'd rather not have, we're gonna,
how
the
much?
warrant we're looking at right now, and Commission's a little bit upset with me for kind of lowballing it, but we're gonna be asking for 12,000. For the
You have a
NRI.
quote to do it for 12,000?
What's that?
Has someone said they could do it for 12,000?
Yeah, cheap one, but that's, you gotta start somewhere. And I'll be honest with you, I've spent a lot of time looking at the master plan and what's in there with the Conservation Commission. Isn't bad stuff. We do need to improve on a lot of things around wetlands, a lot of things around mapping, so that the maps that are part of the master plan, I couldn't tell you where I was when I was looking at them. I mean, they're just there, not as distinctive as they need to be. So that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, so 12,000 is a
It's
low
low.
ball.
But we'll manage with what we've got there already, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The company out of Keene?
We're looking at that right now. We've got another guy coming, the next meeting, to talk about what he might be able to do. We're gonna stay away from the Upper Valley, because they charge a lot of money to do that.
they do good work too.
Well, yeah, but we can't afford really good work right
Okay.
now.
Let me ask you this. Years ago, a portion of the town forest got hit by a severe storm, and so we
Right.
forested it.
Yep, and we got the money. We got
Okay.
part of the money.
Okay, so at the time, if I understood, it was like, okay, we need to come up with a plan for managing the forest, which includes forestry on our various parts at various
Mhm.
times. Has that gone on at all?
Well, we spent a lot of time this year, or some of the commission has, spent a lot of time trying to look at improving trails, things of that nature.
Right, but I'm saying, go in and actually log some of the forest.
Oh, no, we
Clean it
haven't,
out.
you've logged some but that's not the forest, at the water area.
Right, but what I'm saying is, some of that stuff that's done as part of the conservation of the land,
We haven't-
revenue comes in
Yeah.
from that, and part of that has been going into the conservation
Yeah,
commission.
we haven't done any recently.
Okay.
No.
So there's no income stream, even if it's
No,
every
we've got
5 years.
far more money going out than we have coming in.
But it's all going out for good things.
Yeah.
How do conservation commissions get their money to start in general?
Well, generally, there's a variety of things. And I just read a whole article about it, but was it land use tax or things of that nature? Percentage of that is a major one.
So what, do we bring in land use tax?
No, we don't, all of that goes to general fund right now.
Okay.
And the Conservation Commission is I believe is the only municipal agency that's authorized to carry over its unexpended
That's correct.
budget every year. So if you had a $1,200 budget in here and they spent $1,000, they could transfer
Yeah.
that 200 over into
To another year.
their
Yeah. Yeah.
ongoing fund.
I'm not, I guess I told you, I'm no longer the chairman. I'm not allowed to be by RSA. But we have people that are like Dr. Shizzle and Don Shigan that are anxious they've been wanting to take classes to learn about wetlands identification, things of that nature. We also want to start doing more with the community in terms of identifying what is the actual agriculture that's here.
Is there any collaboration with the tech center? and their-
Yeah, oh, yes, yeah, a little. We added a forestry guy in, and he's anxious to work with us, nice guy. But using the county more than we have been in the past. In fact, they paid for Larry to go to a class, and then he couldn't
We
go.
pay 10%
because-
of the county, so we might as well get something from them.
Yeah, good. I don't disagree with that, yeah. But Larry couldn't go because he came down with COVID.
Someone
So,
go in his place?
what's that?
Did someone go in his place?
No, because we didn't know the last minute.
No.
So we've got a lot of good things going on, but we want to outreach into the community more. Like, for instance, talk with farmers. How much actual land are you using in terms of agriculture? What are the different types of minerals that we have? Wetlands is a big issue, because the more we have building going on, the more we have to make sure we're protecting our wetlands. And there's already been some pushing the envelope in that area. So they should, when anything that deals with wetlands eventually should come to the commission. Okay, and some of it has, but we need to make sure it all does. So we want to try to get together, and we haven't been able to do it in a while, with the planning and zoning groups to talk about what our role is in the master plan with that. It's a good group.
Yeah, sounds like it. My feeling is any warrant article to fund the, NRA, Natural Resource Assessment.
NRA is a different
Inventory.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, should be our warrant article, not a petition one, since it's sort of like our commission.
Well, we've kind of had this discussion on a few occasions, and I know I've had it with Hunter, and Hunter felt, as well as I, the NRI is an integral part of the municipal
Yeah.
master plan.
It's one of the bigger parts of the master plan,
And
yeah.
Hunter felt that that money could be taken from the general fund to pay for this plan. I guess one of my problems with an NRI plan, that's bottom basic barrel,
Yeah.
you get a basic plan, that's all you get, and you get a written plan that people aren't gonna wanna read. You need something with some maps, diagrams.
That's,
Like you
Herb,
said,
that's one of the biggest improvements that I'm pushing for.
Like you said, you want
Yeah.
maps that people can
Can see,
identify.
yeah, where they are,
Yeah.
People don't like to
Yeah.
sit there and read a report.
yeah.
So what would a good one cost, like 15 to 20?
Oh, probably 15 to 20, or more.
And when make
They
their-
spent $40,000, what town was it?
Grantham?
No. I think it was Bo,
Bo,
I believe so.
Okay.
but they had the Upper Valley do it, they charged like 40,000.
The Upper Valley, they have their regional planning commission.
Yeah.
That's a different region.
Well, I'm talking, the one you and I are supposed to attend,
Yeah,
yeah,
Upper Valley, yeah.
yeah.
so. But, I mean, hey, if you want to do it that way, I have no issue with that.
When they made their presentation, it was like bottom barrel plan,
Yeah.
around 8, 15 to 18, I think was the middle level plan. 20 plus was the better plan, and you could go from there. I mean,
Right, I mean, our natural resources are one of our assets here. And if we're going to inventory it, we shouldn't cut corners on it.
I like that idea.
I mean,
We were just trying, they were mad at me for saying 12.
It's-
So,
Well, I just don't know if we need to have a line item for the Conservation Commission when the funds are available for other things.
we want to make sure we have one in there as a standing amount of money.
It
Because
wouldn't
what
hurt.
happens is, it gets taken sometimes, not always, sometimes it gets taken out of our funding, okay, that we have in there. And nothing should be coming out of that funding unless we okay it. And I'm not saying anybody's stealing money, because they're not, okay? But we want better control of that as the Conservation Commission.
You want to make sure that what money's being spent for supports
It always
the mission of
is,
the
I mean, I don't ever
conservation.
worry about
Yeah.
that. But we'd like to be able to keep that money and actually build on it so that when land becomes available, that we want to put in terms of conservation and the commission control, not, the town would control it, but I mean, we would oversee it.
Has the Conservation Commission identified areas in town where they would like to?
They're looking at it right now.
So they're,
Yeah, that's being looked at.
uh,
Very active group.
yeah, yeah. Hunter, is this something Econ would be willing to kick in like $5,000 toward a inventory? Or would it be too extreme for
I think
that?
that's doubtful. I think it's too far removed from the growth and development of business in the community. It's kind of,
Which I think is kind of ridiculous since,
yeah. well,
In the latest Town
I
and
can't
Country,
speak for them.
that magazine we
yeah,
get,
the-
great article in there about NRIs. Great article.
one that's sitting on my car seat right now. Yeah.
I agree.
What's the pleasure of the board? Do we want to try to,
I would like to ask that
Do
you act on the 1,200
well, look,
for the operating budget.
yeah, but looking at the NRI, can that wait until next,
The NRI?
right, is that
Well, I just
something
want to
that
make
we
sure,
Yeah, I mean, you can have that discussion later in the budget.
Yeah.
He wants to put in, he wants to get a line, from what I understand, the Conservation Commission wants an operating
Budget.
budget.
Yeah.
To fiddle around and do what they do
I'm
during
in,
the
I'm in
course of the
favor of doing that, yeah.
And what we'll do is we'll build that into the next edition of the
Into the
budget.
next
Topaz,
edition.
yeah.
Yeah,
Give it an
good.
account number and the.
Excellent.
Do you want to
Good.
make a motion for that?
Well, I prefer one of you do that since I'm the commission member bringing it up, so.
We won't hold that against you.
Okay, then I would make a motion that we add $1,200 for the Conservation Committee's operating budget to this next budget.
To the
This
Topaz
budget.
section of.
Topaz section of this budget. Paul?
It's not gonna be in the Topaz
It'll be
section.
adjacent to it.
It's actually way down below health and things, under the state's chart of accounts.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I get the
We'll
gi-
put
I
it
get
in
the
a
gist.
appropriate place.
Okay? Thank you, Paul.
All right? Herb?
I'll second it, but I'll be watching, I guess.
You'll be what?
I've just seen abuses in the past where these funds have gotten out of control. I mean, we fund stuff.
You got some of the top people in this town that are part of this, and I don't think they're gonna be going off to Aruba with the money.
No problem
Yeah.
there. I don't think more than 12
What's that?
is gonna take you over.
That's never been an issue. But
All right?
Well, I think that historically, I think what he's referring to is in a lot of communities around the state, monies are put into operating budgets, never expended, they get rolled over
Yeah,
into
okay.
the,
Now I would agree.
into the war chest, so to speak,
Yeah.
and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger in some community, and I'm personally familiar with some conservation commissions around the state that have hundreds of thousands of dollars in them, and never do anything with it.
Yeah,
I don't know that
Well,
we're
we're
in
in
that
that.
situation.
no, we're not. We'd like to be able to do much more, and we're gonna do it whether we get the money or not. I mean, we're gonna reach out to the farmers, gonna reach out to the community, talk more. We wanna have a gathering with people who are interested with about natural resources in our community, and explain, which I think is important when we get an NRI, have a meeting and talk to the people about what's in there and what we have for natural resources.
All right, any other discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? All right, we just increased the budget. I think we can live with it.
Yeah.
But the NRI, if it's put in the budget for next year, the funds become available in the fall or in the summer.
Yeah.
And Paul was saying it may be able to cover it out of general fund, or someone was saying that, versus a warrant article.
Well, I mean, you can do it any way you want. I mean, it's a fun, I mean, it's an activity that could be funded with their carryover funds. But as Barry has indicated, they're trying to build those to a point where they can use that for land, either land or easement purchases. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, we'll do whatever the board directs.
So you want a warrant article?
Well, I just want to make sure it's done. I mean, I'm a little bit hesitant to have it go into anywhere near the operating budget.
Well, what I'm thinking, NRI is done how often, ideally?
Every 5 years or so.
Every 5 years.
Yeah. Actually, more than that, right, Paul?
10 years,
Yeah, that's-
How often do we do the master plan?
10 years.
So, we're due now to have
Right.
this one done.
And if you do put it in as a warrant article, it can't be spent on anything else other than that.
Yeah.
Right, but what if it fails? Then you can't do it, or you?
Well, we can't do it.
Don't have any money. At your request, we would find the money in the budget, perhaps.
I mean, if we're talking, not go 15,000 at least, I think,
Mhm.
get a little better quality, maybe even more. Do we have it in this year's budget so you could start it before? Or is it something that may be able to be picked up with, excess funds at the end of the year?
Well, we'd like to get going, I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, Herb knows that, and we'd like to get a start on it.
But
We've already done quite a bit of work with it, in terms of what is presently in the master plan.
Right.
What do we need to flesh out more?
Well, you're talking to vendors who could do this.
Yes, we are.
But with a warrant article, you're talking about being able to pay for it like 5 months out.
Yeah.
And it's the sort of thing, well, if you could start it in April versus,
Well, that would be fantastic to start.
which would mean
Yeah.
trying to pull it out of existing funds somewhere
Mhm.
this year.
Hold on.
Hmm?
Hold on.
What's that?
Just hold on. It's coming.
Well,
I mean,
It's up to
yeah,
you.
I'm concerned about money, but taxes, I pay for
If
it.
it comes out of this year's
Yeah.
appropriations, there will be no impact on taxes.
Well, let's do it this year then, if we can.
If you all,
Paul, do you think we could do that? You find a way?
we'll find it.
Then I'd like to start on it now.
then you wouldn't need a warrant article.
Right,
for next
wouldn't need a warrant.
Do we, unless you wanted to put one in there, sort of, like a capital reserve, like 5,000 a year sort of thing? Like we do for like radio equipment or something?
Well, we could start that another year.
Okay.
I'd rather get it, if
Right, but if
we could do it now, at, let's say, 15,000, well, let's get going. Because I've got people who are already jumping right in and spending a lot of time with it.
Herb, your thoughts on this?
I wanted to do it a year ago,
Yeah,
but just couldn't seem to get the wheels started.
going.
Are the wheels?
Different group right now.
Are the wheels
Yeah.
going now?
Wheels are turning faster than I can keep up with them. I mean, this is a group, they're out and about, they're contacting Don Shagan's just, and Chisel and Gunther, they're just going right to town.
It's on the board over a year ago, and we wanted to
Yeah.
get started so we could get this information for the master plan, because the master plan needed to be updated. And
Yeah.
we're still clicking our heels, wishing
Yeah.
we were in Kansas. I mean,
So I'd like to come out of Kansas and head to the Newport.
So if that's
Resource.
the wishes of the board and they can provide a contract for services.
Okay.
then
Good,
we would make that happen.
thank you.
Need a motion for that?
No.
Okay.
Okay, good,
But
thank
you've
you,
got the
gentlemen.
consensus of the board here.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
But I need some paperwork.
Yep, we'll get it.
Right.
Yep.
And I was talking 15, if it comes in, if you want to do the job, let's do it right.
Yeah, yeah.
Short change.
Yeah, but I don't want to make it so that it affects too much,
Right, but you also want a product that people
Yeah,
will use.
and the biggest part of it, and Herb mentioned it too, is updating the visual aspects of that.
I mean, even at some point, having it so you could have a handout for some of
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah, well, we do want to engage the town more with this. We want them to know what we have.
Yep.
And what we need to do to protect it. Especially, the water resources and things like that. And the agriculture. I mean, when you take a look at it, we're doing more building.
Is there any funding for supporting this from the county? Say if the town kicks in like 15 and the thing comes in at like 20,
I don't know.
you know.
Well, the county already has their own conservation committee. Commission.
Right, but I mean doing a natural resource inventory here. in
Um,
Newport.
Let me find out more about that,
Yeah.
Jeff, because, who's the guy? We have a guy that we have
I mean, I'd
contact
basically say the town is committed to going forward with this if we find the costs a little higher than what the town is.
from. Yeah, well,
anticipating.
I'll ask about it, yeah.
So.
Because we have a good relationship now with the county.
You weren't in our-
No, I mean with the commission, Conservation
Yeah.
Commission. It was interesting, because when he came the first time, he was very skeptical. I forget the guy, Lionel Shute. Came in and he had been here before when they had really hassled him and given him a hard time. And not in recent years, so.
Yeah.
He said, I didn't know if I ever wanted to come back to Newport again, so. He's working well with us.
Good. And also, you know, hit up, what's his name, Sam Nelson, and
Yeah, we've already talked to Sam. Yeah. And we talked to PJ. PJ's a great help.
I was about to say, a lot of
Yeah.
this, you know, parks and recreation,
Yeah,
you know.
he's a great help.
Anything else on Conservation
No.
Commission?
I think we're all set. Thank you, gentlemen. And if you get a chance, read that article. It's very
Yeah.
informative.
All right, Paul, where were we? Topaz?
Thank you anyway.
Yes, sure, Topaz.
Let's see, where's the other half of the administrator's salary come from?
Building inspection.
Okay,
And that's Alan.
Well, then, building inspection is half of the administrator and
Okay.
then Alan.
okay. All right, funding for master plan. Where would that come from? Would that be a separate article or?
No, this
No,
would
yeah,
come
yeah.
from this particular budget, but we are applying for a grant for that.
Okay, right now we have pretty much
Guaranteed.
nothing budgeted for master plan, right?
Well, we did, as you see on line 111, the request from the agency was 100, and we put in 3,000 because we pressed them to move forward with that
What page?
fund.
Five.
We pressed
Yeah.
them to begin to make preparations for that, and that's the number they came forward with as necessary to get
Six-
going with that
All right,
process.
1,600. Yeah.
I'm not convinced that that is
No.
adequate.
No,
I don't think it is.
no, okay. All right. So everyone good with Topaz?
Yep.
All right, District Court.
That'll actually be Public Works.
What?
Public Works.
I mean, Public Works.
So what do you want to go to?
Buildings and Grounds is now part of Public Works, so we'll talk about that with Todd.
Okay.
So if you come to the next page, insurance deductible.
You don't want to do district court? Okay.
Insurance deductible. We still carrying $1, huh?
Still carrying $1.
All right. Advertising?
Yes?
Looks pretty flat.
Not a wave in it.
What is the 5,000 from Econ? We're taking out.
It's 2 econ.
2 Econ. I saw-
We moved that, didn't we?
No, I think I saw
Yeah, it's here. Yeah.
5,000 in the Department of Request Manager, Request 0.
Yeah, I think we moved it somewhere
Yes,
else.
that's more of a contribution towards Econ's operations.
Okay.
I think that we put it in,
Why are we contributing to Econ's operation? Aren't they supposed to be contributing to the economic development of us?
we're not in the first few years of Econ, we did some financing with them, and as part of the ash landfill maintenance, there was some funds that flowed back and forth, but that stopped 2 years ago.
Right, but I think going forward, we're renting a two-bay garage from them,
We are,
and we're paying rent for use of the, part of the ash landfill for the shooting range.
right, the shooting program comes out of PJ's rec revolving fund, so that rent will, the rent for the shooting range comes out of that.
Where does the revenue from that go?
General fund. Well, we are segregating some of it for the.
I mean, it's
long-term
like, what is it, like $100 or something, and they have 100
It's
participants or
like
something?
125, and they're up to 150 participants now. So we deduct, the cost of cleaning the range,
Right,
which is like $14,000.
yeah.
We just did that this past fall, worked out reasonably well. And, we pay to maintain cut the grass and
Right.
do all that sort of stuff. So it's a little bit better than break even. We might clear a grand
Okay.
or two or three a year. And then we pay Econ $5,000 a year for the use of the property.
Okay. All right. Anything else under advertising? Other general government?
Yes.
Okay, basically the senior center, we're continuing that at $7,180. And let's see. Safety committee? 1,000. NCTV, that's an in and out.
Right.
Yeah. And then fleet vehicle. What is that?
That was the BMW.
Oh,
And we only spent $5 on it in the past 2 years? What is you mentioned at times you want to get a replacement vehicle for
Yeah,
people who need to go to meetings and stuff, something less expensive?
Yeah, we're in the process of transitioning the BMW back to the state. It was a drug confiscation vehicle, and the rule is if you stop using it, you have to give it back to the state. The thing has become very expensive to maintain. It hiccups and it's $1,000. So we are
That's
transitioning that back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a nice car when it's running, right, but you don't want to be around when it's not. So we're working towards replacing that vehicle and one of the police cruisers with a, quote, administrative vehicle, a much less expensive vehicle. The chief doesn't need to ride around in a fully equipped, patrol cruiser, and we don't need anything other than an administrative vehicle, so we can buy 2 administrative vehicles, $30,000 each, for the price of 1 cruiser. So that's the direction we're headed. It'll put a fully equipped cruiser back on the patrol rotation, get that out where it belongs, and provide for transportation, which is really all we need, is just transportation.
All right, basically a vehicle for people going to conferences or
Yeah,
meetings or
the building
such.
inspector uses it to drive around,
Right.
and we pay 64 or 65 cents a mile now. And people use it to go to conferences. The zoning officer uses it to go on property inspections, and everybody uses it. It's kind of a pool car. And I would argue to you that if we got a small, little Ford Escape, a little SUV, kind of tiny little thing, that are probably the avoided mileage that we would be paying out to employees probably pays for the thing over the course of time. It probably breaks even. Because there's some employees, the building inspector, for instance, he goes out and drives all over town. Well, we're paying him, a couple $100 in some cases a week for traveling around. So when we keep that in-house, it pays, pretty much offsets the
And the
price of the vehicle.
Ford Escape's worked out all right for
It's worked out
Todd
great.
Cartier, right?
Yeah, Todd uses it.
Yeah.
It's worked out fine.
It doesn't need a full-size pickup or anything like that.
No. And by the same, the police chief doesn't need a fully equipped patrol vehicle to drive around to meetings. It's just overkill.
Right, but doesn't the chief also respond to calls and all?
There'll be a
Makes
radio
calls?
in the in his unit. And there'll be lights on it, so he can come and go. But he doesn't have to carry all the gear and all that sort of stuff. Doesn't have to need a cage in it.
Yeah, just call another cruiser.
Huh?
If he stops somebody and needed, he'd call another cruiser.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, ideally, it should be rare that the police chief should be out doing that kind of work anyway. Very rare occasion that he should be doing that sort of stuff.
And if he wants to, you can always take one of the cruisers out for that.
Yeah. Or he can make the initial stop and then call another cruiser to come and assist. But it's $30,000 savings right off the bat.
But the cruisers are like 60,000 now.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I think, was it when we got the one that the fire department uses, it was like 22 or 23. You know, it was literally sitting on the lot and they were asking us if we wanted it, so.
Yeah.
But that was several years ago.
So we're done, Paul?
Oh, no, we can keep going, or you can go home, you guys choose.
What's pleasure?
Well, where would you go next?
I would go to... Health agencies, page 21. There's probably 20 minutes left in the general fund.
Oh.
What?
Not even.
Health administration?
Health administration.
Okay.
Well, health administration is technically the fire chief, but there's not a lot there.
Yep.
That's,
Right.
oh, health agencies. Nothing?
Well, health administration is
Right
different.
above it.
Yeah,
Health administration.
Health officer.
Okay.
Basically, it's a stipend for the chief.
Right, to go out and do health inspections,
Yeah.
things of that nature.
And on Monday night, we get to reappoint him for his annual reappointment as health inspector. All right,
Good.
any questions there?
No.
Where else?
Health agencies,
Yeah.
right below it.
Those are
Yeah.
funds being paid by us to other health-related agencies.
Right, and the only one we pay, generally Sullivan Nutrition, they asked for 7581, and we're offering 6,300. Same as last year.
Yeah.
Okay. And the others, basically, we had in the past come in under, have we gotten requests from these agencies yet?
We've gotten requests from all, and we've gotten a petition article from VNA.
Vermont and New Hampshire.
Yep.
Some of these, community transportation and Southwest Community Services, how do we feel about those?
Well, he came in and made a pitch and we turned him down, right?
No one's made a pitch yet.
No, I mean last year, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, you request that they go in the petition route.
Yep.
Well, he wanted it to be part of this operating budget. Yeah.
What's that?
When he came in, he wanted us to include it in the operating budget, and we told him to go
Yeah.
the regular way he's always gone.
All right, and we still feel that way today, right?
Yep.
Okay. Welfare,
Yes?
okay?
This was another one of those kind of crapshoot budgets.
Yeah.
It's gonna be what it's gonna be, but this is what we expect it to be.
All right, well, let's see.
Who's the head of that agency? It's the,
Sandy.
Was salaries up this,
yeah, good.
salaries up 40%?
There was a little shift in hours
Yep.
due to staffing, but then part of that is also the plan, the pay plan.
Okay.
Good.
So that number won't necessarily be representative of the salary, that's the, see, because remember, when they did the salary study, they studied the ranges for
Right.
those categories of work, not those particular
Particular.
employees.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's one of those cases where we've budgeted for the full amount recommended for that grade of work in the salary study.
All right. Moving on, welfare direct assistance. Seems to be down a little bit.
We're hoping.
Can change on a dime.
Yeah.
Well, last year, it looks like we're about half of what we budgeted.
Yeah. That was because the COVID, all the COVID money that was kicking around.
Okay, so basically we use COVID money instead?
No, other agencies
Okay.
picked up
Right.
cases.
Gotcha.
They didn't get to us.
Okay. And this year through, end of December, we spent about $59,000 in direct assistance.
Yeah. Welfare is somewhat cyclical, I was gonna say cynical, I'd be wrong. Cyclical in that PSNH doesn't do a lot of shut-offs in the winter.
Yeah.
They will start in April.
Okay.
So we will see an influx. The other thing is right now we're getting killed in rents.
Rents?
If there are places available, the rents are very high.
Yeah. What about fuel assistance? Does that come out of this too? That's-
Only emergency beyond anything that they'd receive
Okay.
through Southwest Community Service.
All right.
We would expect that this will rise over the next year or two
Yeah.
back towards the traditional level.
All right. Any other questions there? Economic development? This is the entire salary for,
Yeah, this is Allison, and the work she does with School to Work program, as well as our own general economic development activities.
okay,
And we have a 50% revenue projected coming in from the school, which we have in the last week gotten the superintendent to confirm their support.
As long as Allison's there.
Yeah.
now this is one of the few areas of the budget where the department request for salary was one thing and you bumped it up another 8,000?
Well, that again reflects that bracket that the wage
Okay.
study. The wage study says that the salary should be between here and here.
Okay,
It may not end up that way.
okay, but that's what, okay,
Because when I started parsing it apart,
Yeah.
it just wouldn't end.
Yeah, it doesn't, yeah.
We're budgeting for the full exposure.
okay, and the budgeting, along with salary, you're also you're budgeting the benefits that track on the salary too?
Yep.
Okay. All right, any questions on economic development? All right, anything else for tonight, Paul?
If you do, turn one page and do patriotic purposes, debt service, you're done for the general fund.
All right, any questions or changes on, any questions on patriotic purposes? All right, debt service, you want to walk us through debt service?
Yeah, it's flat in the general fund. We have the fourth payment on the first, second, third, fourth projects.
And doubles, yeah.
There's a...
How many more payments do we have on that?
There's a 20-year.
Okay,
There's about a $12,000 reimbursement from the state aid grant coming back on the revenue side for that. We have our bridge bond, third payment of 10, and our road project, this will be our second payment of 30.
okay.
And the related interest is in the next section.
Yep.
This is like the national debt service, not much you can do about it.
No.
No.
That's what it is. You could vote not to pay it, but then you'd suffer the consequences.
They'd come and repossess our road.
Our credit rating would suffer rather quickly.
No, I think we're good. What's TAN interest?
Tax anticipation notes?
Okay, yeah, keep $1 in there.
Yeah.
Good.
Just in case.
Okay, so next week
Is
is,
that it?
Just lease payments on the next page and then you're done.
Okay.
yeah. Sidewalk tractor.
The sidewalk tractor is done.
Done, yeah.
We have communications equipment and the fire pumper.
Yeah. The
Which
fire
is-
pumper, there's a typo on the explanation side. We are the second payment of 5, not 10.
Okay.
Okay.
And the next truck is in production and, as far as we know, on schedule for delivery later, I think it's this fall.
Okay.
So that program is working just fine. Ambulances and trucks are being replaced according to the schedule that works for everybody. We're good. So, I mean, all together, I think we're pretty good on rolling stock
Mhm.
across the board. You know, the buildings are.
We'll get to it in detail when we get to Public Works, but this budget includes replacing some other capital equipment of theirs? Just to give us a heads up.
No, it allocates enough money to make the next contribution to the CIP, which will allow us to order the next piece this coming year.
Yeah.
And make the final payment on it the second year.
Okay,
And then, once that's done, we'll be in line to place the next order
okay.
for the next piece of equipment, and so on, and so on, and so on. So
Good.
I think we're making some good progress in that respect. Okay. Hopefully, there won't be any, 40-year-old pieces of equipment banging around because we didn't plan for it. Wait, and you probably already know this, but in the first 3, 4, 5 years of any capital improvements program, it's a little disjointed because you're playing catch-up for the years
Yeah.
prior.
Mhm.
And it's not until you kind of clear out the old stuff, when you're trying to make up for the old stuff, because you haven't had the benefit of the 20 years, you have to get out ahead of it a little bit for 4 or 5 years, and then it flattens out. So there'll be a little bit of struggling for the first 3 or 4 years, 5 years, to get kind of things sorted out. But then the level of funding that we're at now will carry us forward. It's sufficient to carry us forward. But we'll have to kind of dig out and fuss around for the next 4 or 5 years to get that backlog taken care of. Afterwards, it's pretty smooth sailing,
Good.
All right.
which translates into pretty smooth tax
Yeah.
impacts.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, adjourned.
Good.